Hi everyone, I'm Lady Teddy. I'm going to be reading to you guys from Magium, which is a text-based choose your own adventure story app that is free on both Android and iOS, and it is it's really good, and I highly recommend it to anyone that is interested because there's a lot of different paths that you could take, and I have a lot of respect for the author. The current read-through that I'm doing right now is a Smart Good Berry playthrough, and we are on book 2 in the middle of chapter 5. Um, the way I do this, I know a lot of people like to just listen and fall asleep, and so that is totally okay if people just want to relax and not participate. If people do want to participate and it is not a good or a smart option, if it's a choice between good and smart, if it's a good or smart choice, I'm going to make that decision because that is the playthrough that we are currently doing. But if it is not good or smart and it's just sort of neutral or conversational, I will generally let people try and help me make the decision. So what I'll do is I'll read out the different options. There's 1111 here, everyone. Make a wish. Mike, hello. Welcome in. Good to see you. How are you doing? So what I'll do is I'll read out the options, and if anyone would like to help, you can say what your choice is. I'll give y'all about a minute, and I'll go with whatever the majority of everyone would like to pick. Otherwise, I will just make whatever decision suits my fancy, I suppose. Oh, thank you for the lurk! Currently, I am switching over to Magium, which is a text-based choose-your-own-adventure story app that I read out loud from because people say they like my voice. If anyone has any questions throughout the story, feel free to ask. I know it's in the middle of it. If people don't want to play it for themselves but would like to catch up on what's going on, all of my previous readings are in a Magium playlist on YouTube. So you can always go and check that out if you would like. And I will switch over now. Okay, that looks good. You can see me, you can see that. Cool, cool, cool. Also, I have all sound notifications turned off right now, so I would not recommend redeeming any of them. Yeah. Okay. Right now they were there when someone killed a noble and they're taking the fall for it, so they were thrown into an arena, like a gladiator arena where they had to fight a bunch of monsters and each other and stuff. And if they all survive to the end, that means that they've won their freedom. And they have made it basically to the end when alarms started going off. Oh, actually, you know what? That's all right here. Yeah, they did make it basically to the end. The ambassador who is going to be here is the one who's in charge of it, and he's in charge of trying to make sure that the members of the party all die, because otherwise the king that he works for, whose brother was killed, will be pissed. And right now he's trying to convince a bunch of the other gladiators to attack his party, and they don't want to. Because they saw that they're all pretty damn powerful. What caliber? The ambassador shouts furiously. They're just a bunch of peasants. Do you think that fighting them is not worth the risk? Then I'll make it worth it. I can give you money beyond your wildest dreams. You will never have to work another day in your life. If you join this fight, I will free you all and give you a high enough status that you will never risk having to fight in a place like this ever again. Just tell me what you want and I will provide it for you. All you have to do is fight. Fight, damn you. The gladiators are all looking at each other with an uneasy look in their eyes, but it doesn't seem like any of them are seriously considering accepting the ambassador's offer. What is wrong with you? The ambassador shouts with his face red from anger. Do you have no ambitions, no goals? What is it going to take to make you fight them? What is it going to take? Tell me, you miserable excuses for human beings. What do you want? Tell me. Tell. The ambassador's last words are drowned out by a few very loud horns that seem to be blowing in unison from different sides of the city. The crowds are starting to panic. It seems like they know something we don't. Whatever it is that those horns are supposed to signify, I'm definitely not liking the sound of this. Oh no, the announcer says, trying to keep calm. Will the spectators please evacuate the arena in a calm and orderly fashion? The show is cancelled. I repeat, the show is cancelled. The spectators are now rushing in droves towards the exits of the Colosseum, and while they're not looking very calm and orderly to me, they are at least not knocking each other down, so they still have some sense of self-control in them, despite their panic. Now that he's done with the spectators, the announcer turns towards us. Gladiators, he says, I'm afraid that I'm going to have to ask you to temporarily join the forces of our army until our current crisis gets averted. According to the laws of Thelius, during a citywide state of emergency, gladiators are to be used as resources of the kingdom until the state of emergency is officially declared to be over. Like hell we will, that wasn't the deal. What is the emergency? What about the penalty round? Do we still have to do that too? I would pick between one of these two, since this doesn't really seem smart. But if anyone would like to pick, now is your chance. Otherwise, I will probably pick... I'll pick one of these two. So, now is your chance to weigh in, or if y'all just want to fall asleep, that's fine too. Y'all have a minute. A little. I always get, like, I feel the need to just get cozy when I read for some reason. Now the pillow that I have on my chair is falling off. It's good enough fix for now. Okay, I feel like Smartberry would go with what is the emergency, even though I know that that will be answered eventually. Seems like the thing Smartberry would do, just get straight to the point. But also Smartberry would want to know that. What about the penalty round? Do we still have to do that too? Forget the penalty round, the announcer shouts. Don't you understand how serious this is? We'll all be lucky if we even manage to... The announcer interrupts himself because a very powerful wind comes blowing towards us all, feeling as if it could lift us in the air any second if we weren't on our guards. This wind... I've I've only witnessed something like this once before. Oh, gods, please, don't let this be Half-Lisathi. I hear a familiar voice calling for me from above. I've been looking for you. As I hesitantly turn my head upwards, I see Tyrath, the king of all dragons, flapping his wings high above the sky while looking directly at me with a menacing stare. Gods have mercy, Bruce says. The announcer screams and he falls on his back as he sees the dragon. The spectators look terrified. They're now screaming and pushing each other like madmen. At this rate, it won't take long until some of them get pushed to the ground and get trampled by the stampeding crowd. The ambassador lets out a girly scream and he runs away as fast as his legs can carry him, outside of the fighting arena. Did you think that you could hide from me forever, Half-Lisathi? Tyrath says. You should have realized that I would be able to track down your smell as soon as you'd get out from your underground hole. All you managed to do was prolong the inevitable. Hey, Tyrath, we hear Araka's voice coming from our left. Long time no see. Remember me? It's your old friend Araka. Flower is now jumping down from the spectator seats, using jets of fire coming from her feet to slow down her fall. She then comes running to join the rest of us in the center of the arena. Araka, Tyrath says, taking his eyes off me to look towards her amulet. Is it just me? Or did you get a new look? Araka asks the dragon. What happened to your scales being made of molten lava? Where's that intimidating fiery aura that you used to have? What? Wait. Is it because you got older? Ha 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 ha. So much for being all-powerful, huh? I bet you must really hate yourself for having become such a weakling. How did you break this seal? Tyrath asks her. You mean the seal from the cave? Araka says. Seriously, you never even found out I escaped? How did you even manage to miss the still winter? Were you hibernating or something? Boy, do I have some stories to tell you. The seal, Tyrath says again. How did you break it? Oh, that old thing had already started to crack after the first 1,000 years or so, Araka says. As soon as there were enough cracks in it, all I had to do was wait for someone to enter the cave and bam! I took over his body. Or at least I tried to. We ended up having to share it eventually. But seriously though, what did you think would happen? You had to ally yourself with those Lisathi and mages just to stand a chance against me, and you thought that your half-assed seal would hold me there forever? Don't make me laugh. The only reason why you even managed to beat me was because I'd only just gotten myself banned from the magical plane, and I didn't really know the ins and outs of this world at the time. If we had a rematch now, I'd obliterate you. You would obliterate me from the inside your You would obliterate me from inside your amulet? Tyrath says. Hey, you break this amulet for me, and we can have that rematch right now if you want. Araka says. You can stay there and rot, Tirith says. I didn't come here for you. I came here to get revenge and to prove to an insignificant insect just how hopeless it is to oppose me. Wait, are you talking about me? Didn't you lose against me last time, though? Either of these options work. If anyone would like to weigh in, now is your chance. Otherwise, I will be making a decision for us in about a minute. Okay. Gonna go with this one. Wait, are you talking about me? Yes, I'm talking about you, you miserable wretch. Tyreth shouts. Now stop talking and activate your magic stats again so I could prove to you how weak you truly are. You see, I tell the dragon, the thing is that I can't really activate those stats anymore. So you refuse to fight me at your full power then? Tirith says. No, you don't understand, I say. I'm saying that I really can't use those stats right now. Couldn't you come back later after I've learned how to activate them? If you're not planning to activate the stats, the dragon says, then I'm going to start slowly murdering all of your friends, one by one, until you finally come to your senses. And once I'm done with you, I will destroy this entire city, and then I will burn all the other human settlements from this continent to the ground. I will do today what I should have done 10,000 years ago. Your race was never meant to get out of the caves. Immediately after he finishes his speech, a very large explosion envelops the dragon, and then a few smaller explosions start to fill the area around him. Flower, who is now high up in the sky, some 200 feet away from the dragon, makes a victory gesture with her right fist as soon as she sees the explosions. Nice job distracting him, Barry, Flower says as she gives me a thumbs up while still floating. While she's still floating in the sky with the aid of the fire jets coming from her feet. Watch out, I tell her. The dragon is immune to fire. Even if he's immune to fire, Aluna says, the impact from the explosion is going to leave a mark. Well, you heard her, Flower says with a smirk. One more fireball coming up. The girl then creates a spinning ball of fire between her hands, and she sends it flying towards the dragon, making it explode on impact. So this is the dragon that you guys were talking about, Hadrick says with a half grin, and with a look of both excitement and apprehension in his eyes. Let's see what he's made of then. Hadrick then turns into a giant eagle and he soars into the sky towards the dragon. Flower makes sure to stop her fireballs when she sees him, and as soon as Hadrick positions himself above Tirath, he turns back into his usual dwarf form, making a dive towards the dragon and punching him in the back. Hadric's punch is so strong that we heard it from all the way down here, and it sent the dragon flying a dozen feet towards the ground. The dwarf then turns back into an eagle and he flies away, waiting to see what his opponent will do next. The dragon looks furious. It seems that he's planning to go all out from the start this time around. Before Flower gets to cast a new fireball, the dragon Before Flower gets to cast a new fireball, the dragon disappears from where he was previously, and he reappears right in front of her, slashing at her with one of his claws. Flower reacts immediately, and she uses a jet of fire from her left hand to push her to the side and out of the dragon's reach. Tirath wastes no time, and he teleports again, right behind Flower. This time, it is Aluna who quickly turns around, and she uses 2 water jets from her hands to attack the dragon and also push herself away from him at the same time. While the girl and the dragon repeat the same motions a few more times, Kate is preparing a very large cone of ice in the air above her, getting ready to send it flying towards Tirath. "Kate, this isn't going to work," Darren tells her, as he sees her preparing her ice cone. "Don't you remember how things went the last time we fought him? Your ice cones didn't affect him at all. If you could use one of your ice platforms to fly me all the way into the sky, maybe I could manage to hurt him with my sword." "This won't be like last time," Kate says with a determined look on her face. Now that I know the full extent of my enemy's power, I no longer have the luxury to worry about conserving my magical energy. This time, I'm fighting him with all I've got, even if I end up fainting from exhaustion." "Damn it, listen to me," Darren says, but Kate ignores him, and she surrounds herself with a cage made of ice that she then uses to lift her up in the sky, so she can get a better view of her target. The cone of ice that she's creating is definitely looking a lot different than anything she's ever made before. It looks as sharp and durable as elven steel, and it is simply radiating magical energy. It feels like the whole area around it is trembling from the magical power that is being pumped into that one ice cone. And once the creation process is complete, the cone starts turning by itself, following the dragon's movements. After Tirath teleports a few more times in order to attack Flower, Hadric finally catches up to him again in his eagle form, and he turns into a dwarf once more, punching him right in the face. While the dragon gets briefly stunned by the dwarf's attack, Kate uses the opportunity to launch her ice cone at her target. There is an extremely powerful explosion of air behind the ice cone, and it gets sent straight towards the dragon's chest at an incredible speed. The icicle penetrates Tirath's tough hide, and he lets out a very loud roar, which almost makes everyone lose their consciousness, even while they are desperately trying to cover their ears. The dragon then yanks the ice cone out of his chest with his claw, and he teleports right next to Kate, who is now barely even able to stand on her feet inside her floating ice cage due to the dragon's roar from before. Just as the dragon is about to burn her alive with his fire, a golden cage appears out of nowhere, trapping him inside. This does not stop Tirath from breathing his fire, but somehow none of the flames manage to pass through the cage's bars, and they eventually die out by themselves. thank you so much for the lurk. Welcome in, it's good to see you. The fox's cage, Tirith says. He then turns around, looking straight at Aluna. Is this your doing? He asks her. I've had enough of your annoying teleporting, Aluna says. You are going to stay put for the next few minutes. Do you understand? How is this going to help you in any way? Tirith says. I may not be able to attack you from inside here, but neither can you. All you are doing is wasting time. Flower then starts to move around the dragon's cage with her fire jets, creating balls of fire with her hands and then leaving them floating, one by one, all around the cage. I'd like to see you handle all of these at once, King of Dragons, Flower says with a smirk. The dragon scoffs and he begins to cast a series of protection spells on himself, getting prepared for the moment when the cage disappears. Kate is now also creating as many of her newly designed ice cones as she can. Although judging by the expression on her face, the process is definitely wearing her out much faster than her usual means of casting magic. I don't know if she can keep this up much longer. Damn it, there has to be something I can do in this situation. Maybe I can find a way to get up there somehow. As I look around, I see to my surprise that the empty spectator area is now slowly being filled with hundreds of persons dressed in guard uniforms, and many of them are holding some very peculiar weapons in their hands. In the meantime, some of their people are pushing several flying machines into the arena's fighting area. The machines look similar to the flying contraptions built by gnomes, with a large propeller on the top, a long tail in the back, and the two wings that help with gliding through the air. The propeller is usually powered by a spell cast by an air elementalist, but aside from that, there is no further need for magic in order to help these machines fly. I used to know a gnome a few years ago who would keep making me do flight tests of his prototypes in exchange for the information I needed about mages. I remember one of those prototypes being so bad that the propeller actually stopped working while I was in mid-flight, and I had to glide the way down. I still have nightmares about some of those flights, even to this day. One of the people that pushed the flying contraptions into the arena is now having an argument with a gnome. It's not very far from our position. As I look closer, I realize that the gnome is none other than King Golmick. What do you mean that the pilots and the gunners aren't here yet? Golmick says. I specifically asked for 3 pilots and gunners to be ready and waiting in case of any of the manticores went berserk. Where are they now? I apologize, Your Highness, the man says. Says the man who helped push the machinery. The manticores were all killed in the first round, so the pilots and gunners went out for a drink. I tried to contact them through receivers, but they wouldn't answer. Damnations! Golmick says. I'd pilot one of these myself, but I need someone to man the guns. He then turns towards us. You there, gladiators, he says. You're all in the army now, am I correct? Do any of you have any experience piloting aircraft? Or are you at least any good at aiming a moving vehicle? I could use some help here. Offer to pilot the aircraft, offer to man the guns. I'll save here. So we can do either. If someone would like to weigh in, now is your chance. Otherwise, I will probably go with this one. But I'm not really married to either decision. Alright, pilot it is. I've piloted gnomish flying machines before, I say. I could give it a try. Splendid, Golmick says. Come over here, Barry, was it? I'll teach you the basics. I'll go help the soldiers, Darren says. They'll need all the protections that they can get if they're planning to start shooting at the dragons. He then rushes towards one of the gates in order to reach the upper levels where the soldiers are currently located. Now, Barry, listen closely, Golmick says once I reach him. These are your flight controls. He then points towards the cockpit. Over there, you have the control stick, Golmick continues. The rudder pedals are down below. You should only change the rudder's direction for making minor adjustments and not for actually turning the aircraft. Turning should only be done using the control stick. Lordos, hello. What was the that's what she said? How are you? Welcome in. Yeah, I have all sound alerts turned off while I do the reading recording since it's supposed to be relaxing. How are you? Yes, I know, I tell him. This lever over here, Golmick says as he points towards the lever on the left side of the cockpit, is used to adjust the pitch for the rotor blades. Increasing the pitch will make you gain altitude, but it will decrease your forward speed. Decreasing the pitch will make you lose altitude. Does this all look familiar to you? Yeah, I say. It's pretty similar to what I've piloted in the past. I can handle it. Perfect, Golmick says. When I designed these machines, I tried to make the controls as intuitive as possible for people who have piloted other gnomish machines in the past. I'm glad to see that my efforts were not wasted. The gnome looks up at the dragon trapped in the golden cage with a thoughtful expression on his face. Barry, Golmick says, you wouldn't happen to know how much longer that cage is going to last, would you? I say, about 2 more minutes, I guess? Good, Golmick says. We have plenty of time. Hop in. I'll give you the rest of the instructions during our flight. Make sure to strap yourself in tight. Also, you should wear these goggles. Golmick gives me a pair of protective goggles, which I immediately put on, and then I enter the cockpit, strapping myself in. There are only 2 chairs in the cockpit, one for the gunner and one for the pilot, back to back. The gnome enters the cockpit as well, seating himself on the chair behind me, and then putting on his straps. So, I say, as I see the gnome adjusting the turret that is located at the base of the machine's tail. I may be stating the obvious here, but you do realize that normal bullets will not work on this dragon, right? Of course, Golmick says. That's why we won't be using regular bullets. The bullets that I've located The bullets that I've loaded into this turret are made of a metal that is highly resistant to acid, and they have been coated with acid, which we know for a fact that the dragon is weak against. We've had these prepared for a while since Tirith has been a looming threat for quite some time now. Obviously, even with the acid coating, the bullets will likely only moderately inconvenience him, but that's fine, since they're only meant as a distraction. The gnome then points towards a button on my control panel. You also have your own weaponry, by the way, Golnick says. Just press that button and the bullets will shoot themselves. Both the front gun and the turret operate on a mechanism similar to cannons that are used on ships, except for the fact that they magically load themselves with black powder and bullets, so you only have to worry about aiming and shooting. Do try to use these bullets sparingly, though. Our ammunition is not unlimited, and these bullets cost a lot to make. Thank you, Lourdes. I appreciate that. I do my best. As soon as the two of us are ready to take off, the gnome signals an air elementalist nearby, and he casts a spell on the machine's propeller in order to make it rotate. I pull on the lever on my left side. I pull on the lever to my left side in order to increase the pitch, and the flying machine begins to slowly gain altitude. So, you were saying that the bullets are only a distraction, I say rather loudly in order to compensate for the sound of the propeller. What did you mean by that? Oh, the real purpose of this machine is not to shoot down the dragon, Golmick says. What we are in fact aiming to do is to manage to place ourselves above him and then to drop a spinning rope on him. A spinning rope? I ask him, confused. Yes, the gnome says. Our enchanters designed a magical rope that is made to unfurl itself and then to start spinning once it gets dropped from our small cargo hold. The rope has been enchanted to be nearly unbreakable, and it is long enough to tie down the dragon's wings in order to prevent him from flying. The only problem is that the dragon will need to hover in one place for quite a while, and not to be paying attention to us in order for this setup to work. We can't do it after the cage is dismissed, because there will be too many explosions, and the dragon will try to get away from there as soon as possible. We only have one cargo hold and only one rope, so we can't afford to miss our chance. We shouldn't use it unless we are absolutely certain that our plan will succeed. Until then, we'll only be using bullets to attack him in order to provide assistance to your friends and my soldiers that will be attacking the dragon at the same time. And what if the dragon starts breathing fire at us? I say. The aircraft is using Lysathi technology, Glomick says, to provide us with some rather effective shielding against fire attacks. Of course, this does not make us invulnerable, and I'm not sure how long the shields can hold against flames that are as hot as the dragon's, so we should try evading his fire breath as much as possible. As we reach a high enough level of altitude, the golden cage surrounding the dragon is slowly starting to fade. Get ready, the gnome tells me. As soon as the cage disappears, all of Flower's fireballs explode at the same time, sending a very powerful gust of wind towards us, and Kate's ice cones also get launched onto the dragon soon afterwards. The protections that Tirith cast on himself during this time helped him to survive the damage, but it's clear that he didn't get out unscathed. What's more, the amount of damage that he needed to absorb with his magical shields also seems to have drained him of his magical energy for the time being, because he is no longer using teleportation to move around and has gone back to using his wings to fly. Almost as soon as he gets away from all the explosions, the dragon uses his fire breath to attack Kate. He was rather far from her when he attacked, however, which gave Kate enough time to move her ice cage out of the way before the flames reached her. Tirath now attempts to make a dive towards her, but before he reaches his target, the king's soldiers activate their strange weapons in unison, and they release a very powerful bolt of lightning that hits him head-on. Visibly upset, the dragon begins raining down flames on them, trying to dispose of them all at once. Luckily, Darren had already reached the spectator area a while ago, and as soon as he sees the flames, he uses his shield to create a large, semi-transparent barrier, which defends against all of the soldiers from the fire attack. Urkamus, hello, welcome in. I think I'm finally starting to understand how the dragon's fire breathing works. It seems that he... How are you? How is your stream? It seems that he needs to inhale a great deal of air in his lungs before he attacks, and he also never exhales the fire right away. He also never exhales the fire right away afterwards. I'm guessing that this is because first he needs to ignite the fire before breathing it out. This means that as long as you pay attention to his breathing, you should be able to tell when he'll attack you with fire, and you'll have all the time you need to dodge his flames if you're fast enough. I'm glad you're enjoying it. About The Hobbit? No. No. There's only one dwarf here, and he's not even a real dwarf. He's a giant shape-shifting to look like a dwarf. This information will really help me when I pilot the aircraft, because I don't think that I'd have time to maneuver out of the way otherwise. Tirath seems to have changed his mind again, and he is now chasing after Hadric, who is currently in his eagle form. Even with Hadric's speed, it seems like the dragon is going to catch up to him soon. Maybe now would be a good time to make use of those acid-coated bullets? Attack the dragon, wait for a better moment to attack. If someone would like to weigh in, now is your chance. Otherwise, I will make a decision in about a minute. Well, what I'm doing is I'm waiting for... Like, we could always redo this decision. So... Wait. If you're looking at a morality-based game, Detroit Become Human. I haven't heard of it. What type of game is it? Sounds interesting. I keep watching Tirath while he chases Hadrick, waiting for a better moment to attack. As I watch them fly, the two of them eventually start heading our way. And when the dragon notices me, he stops in his tracks, looking at me furiously. "Are you mocking me, half-Lasathi?" Tirath shouts. "Do you think that using some flying toy will be enough to defeat me? I've had it with your insolence. If you're not going to activate your powers, then so be it. I'm not wasting any more time for the likes of you." The dragon then inhales as much air in his lungs as he can, preparing to breathe his fire at us. I anticipate his attack, and I quickly push the control stick forward to make us dive down, in order to evade the incoming flames. The fire breath misses us by a fair margin, but the dragon is already on our tail, and he is gaining on us. Damn it! Move faster, you stupid machine! Move faster! I turn the plane to the left, trying to shake the dragon off, but he easily switches his direction, and he reaches us within seconds. Tirath then dives directly towards our cockpit, and he grabs me in his hind claws, crushing me between them and killing me on the spot. Well, do you want to stick with piloting? Marshming, hello! You're still here. Oh, well, good morning? Oh my gosh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I'll stick with piloting. And I'll just do the other one. Well, thank you for the lurk. Alright, attack the dragon. I use the control stick in order to maneuver the aircraft to align with the dragon. I'm going to attack Tyreth, I tell Golmick. Be ready. Understood. Understood, Golmick says. As soon as I make sure that I've got a clear shot at him, I press the button on my control panel, and I shoot about a dozen bullets into the dragon's right wing. The dragon screams in pain, and then he flies out of the way, preparing to make a charge at us. I decide that it's time to retreat, and I turn the plane around in an attempt to get as far away from the dragon as possible. I look back towards Tirath, and I see that he is inhaling a lot of air into his chest, preparing to attack us with his fire breath. I quickly change the direction of the aircraft in order to avoid the dragon's attack, and the flames miss us by a fair margin. The dragon is now right on our tail, but he seems to be having a bit of trouble with his wing that I shot earlier, which is causing him to fly a little slower than before. In the meantime, Golmick is using the turret to keep pressure on the dragon, but he doesn't get to hit him much because Tirath can easily tell where the bullets are being shot from the way the turret is facing. And he doesn't have much trouble dodging most of the shots. As the dragon gets closer to us, Hadrick finally catches up with him in his eagle form, and he turns back into a dwarf in order to smack him in the back of the head. He then quickly turns into an eagle again, and he flies away, while one of Kate's ice cones penetrates the dragon's chest. Tirith pulls the cone out with his claw, and then he starts inhaling air to prepare his fire breath. But just as he does that, the whole air around his head gets replaced with water, and he breathes that in instead. Realizing his mistake, the dragon immediately attempts to cough out the water from his lungs, but the water around his head does not disappear, so all he manages to do is breathe more water in with every cough. This is it, Golmek says. This is our chance. See if you can fly us over the dragon while he's busy with the water, so that I can drop the spinning rope on him. All right, I say, I'll try. The dragon is now moving up and down, shaking his head violently in an attempt to get rid of all the water above his neck. There is no fighting it, Aluna tells the dragon in a cold voice. The water won't go away, and you can't burn it with your flame breath either, as long as you can't get rid of the water in your lungs. Stop struggling and accept your fate. Ha! Iraka says. How do you like drowning in mid-air, Tirith? I'm the one who taught this technique to Aluna, you know. You were blowing all that hot air just now, but in the end it turns out that you can't even defeat one of my disciples. I guess you'll never be a match for me after all. Ah ha 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 ha. I believe they have the first chapter free, but it's a movie-type game. You solve crimes as an android, and the story takes place with 3 different androids. One, a detective cop who must choose from his programming or go with his feelings. The other, an abused android looking to set his kind free from mankind, but you must choose a peaceful or rebellion-type way. The third, an android looking to rescue a little human girl from an abusive father and try to escape the law as a runaway android. And that sounds really interesting. That sounds really good. That sounds really good. Yeah. You said it was called Detroit Becoming Human? Probably Marshming. Alright, hang on. Let me add this and I'll get back to reading. Okay. Oh, okay. Interesting. Tirith's eyes start glowing bright red all of a sudden, and he looks more pissed off than ever. He now seems to be voluntarily raising his body temperature to an alarming degree, because I'm beginning to see steam coming out from all over him. He must be trying to evaporate the water from his body in order to be able to breathe fire again. While Tirith is busy heating up his body, Golmek and I manage to position ourselves right above the dragon, and we ready ourselves to drop the rope on him. As soon as the dragon achieves his purpose of evaporating the water inside him, he uses the last of his breath to exhale a large flame from his mouth, eliminating all of the water that was surrounding his head until now. I'm dropping the rope, Golmuk says as we watch the dragon gasp for air. He then pulls the lever to his right, and the cargo hold opens below us, dropping the rope. Just as the gnome said, the rope unfurls as it falls, and it starts spinning by itself. The dragon is too busy catching his breath to look above him, and as soon as the rope reaches him, it ties itself around his wings, preventing him from flapping them any further. Tirath looks shocked as he starts falling towards the ground, and his first reaction is to try and break free from the rope by using the force of his wings. Failing that, he begins to chew on the rope with his fangs, while also attempting to cut it with his claws, but it's no use. As he gets closer to the ground, the dragon tries using the last of his magic energy reserves to slow down his momentum by teleporting a few dozen feet above his position a few times in a row. This does not slow down his falling speed at all, however, and eventually he hits the ground with an extremely loud noise, creating a crater in the middle of the arena's fighting area, and sending large clouds of dust from all around him. "The dragon is grounded!" Golmuk shouts. The Golmuk shouts suddenly to everyone in the area. "Finish him off now!" "Enough!" Tirath shouts loudly, and a very powerful explosion of hot air originating from his position suddenly hits us all in the face. Following the explosion, the dragon's body changes completely, and it's starting to look like it's now covered by molten lava, and not by regular scales anymore. He is now emanating an intimidating fiery aura that is completely different from the one he had before. But that's not all. The magic power that I am now sensing from him is simply insane. If I were to compare it with anything that I felt before, I'd say that it's on a pretty similar level to the magical power of the golden fox. Is this seriously the true form of the red dragon, Tirath? The one that Araka was talking about earlier, that before we began fighting? How are we even supposed to fight something like this? The rope that was tying the dragon's wings has already been burned to ashes by the dragon's transformation. Tirath now soars back into the sky, looking more menacing than ever before. "This is all my fault," Tirath says in an unusually calm tone. "I alone am to blame for having given you the illusion that you could actually stand a chance against me. I am now going to fix that mistake. Instead of continuing to fight you individually, I will simply destroy this whole city and everyone in it in a single spell. This way, there will be no more misunderstandings." Oh, Mike, you know Detroit as well? There's a tech demo that Quantic Dreams released back in 2012 called Kara that runs in real time on PS3. The tech demo blew up and became Detroit. Oh, cool. It's a decision-based game with the detective crime-solving part like a puzzle. I do like puzzles. I heard about that. Never played it or saw it through, though. Gotcha. Don't be rude. It's just past midnight. It's not even that late. I normally stream for like 2 more hours, although normally I didn't start 3 hours early, so. Thank you for hanging out. Oh, did you see my new emotes? They're new. I think they were approved yesterday. Thank you. I made them myself. If you write and record hymns about sealing water, I will turn it into some sort of sound alert. I'm afraid I can't let you do that, King of all dragons, says Eden, who appeared out of nowhere again, and is now floating right in front of the dragon, with his eyes closed, as usual. Eden, Tirith says in a mildly annoyed voice. See, if you just kept fighting in your other, weaker form, Eden says, I might have been tempted to continue ignoring your gross violation of our pact. But now you've driven things to a point where even I cannot gloss this over. What are you babbling about? Tirith says. What pact? Why, the pact that you, I, and the Golden Fox have signed several 100 years ago, of course, Eden says. Have you already forgotten? According to the pact, neither of the 3 of us are allowed to directly attack any of the other's followers. This is to avoid a fight breaking out between any of the 3 signing parties, because a fight between any 2 of us would have the potential of destroying the entire island before reaching its conclusion, and neither of us would want that. As such, any and all conflicts between the 3 of us are to be resolved indirectly through our followers, and not through any direct means whatsoever. Lordos. Yeah. But fixing pipes is different from sealing water. Sealing water is magic and holy, apparently. But yeah, I never want to play a game where I have to fix pipes ever again. Ridiculous, Tirith says. That old pact has long ago lost its meaning. The only reason why we signed the pact in the first place was because our powers used to be comparable. That has no longer been the case for more than 100 years. Ever since you left the continent, you've been only growing weaker, and now you are but an empty shell of your former self. If you didn't always resort to petty tricks, I would have killed you a century ago. You are no longer a threat, Stillwater, and therefore our pact is now void. Is it? Eden says with a wide smile. Well, let us declare a new pact then. Did I finish the game, Ergamus? Are you talking about Mechanarium? No, I did not. According to the achievement log, I'm like 53% of the way through. Last, from what I remember. Is it? Eden asks with a wide smile. Well, let us declare a new pact then. All of a sudden, the air around us starts to feel like it's weighing heavily on our shoulders, and the world itself seems like it's trembling. It's almost as if there was now an earthquake in the middle of the air. Instead of the earth below, and the blue sky looks as if it is ready to crack any minute under the pressure. I realize immediately that this is the direct result of Eden unleashing his magical aura. And this may well not even be the true extent of his power. Well, well, I hear Araka from somewhere behind us. I see that Eden has finally decided to get a little bit serious. A little bit, Aluna shouts at her in disbelief. We We really never got to name our old pact, Eden tells Tarath. But we could call this new one the Pact of the Creator's Return. What do you say, old friend? Will our words be enough this time, or should I get a pen and paper? Tirath looks at Eden for a while, measuring him up and down, with a thoughtful look on his face. Perhaps I was wrong, Tirath says. Perhaps your travels have not made you nearly as weak as I would have liked to believe. He pauses. I do not intend to destroy the whole continent while fighting with you, Stillwater, Tirath says. I will honor the pact. I will honor the pact and won't interfere any longer. But know that my purpose remains unchanged. If I cannot destroy all the human cities myself, then my armies will just have to do it for me. I will not rest until every single one of these cities is burned down, whether that takes me weeks or years to accomplish. The next time you will be seeing me will be after I've destroyed everything that you once loved and cherished in this god-forsaken world. Remember this. As Tirath returns to leave, Eden calls out to him one last time. Oh, I forgot to mention, Eden says with a polite smile. The mages that have joined the tournament will also temporarily be classified as my followers under the terms of our pact. They are our esteemed guests, after all. Therefore, you are not to bring harm to any of them until the end of the tournament, unless, of course, they attack you first. Tirath says, I will keep that in mind. The dragon then soars higher into the skies, and he flies away from us in the same direction that he came from when he first attacked us. Farewell, King of all dragons, Eden says as the dragon leaves. Eden! We hear a girl's voice coming from one of the empty sides of the spectator seats. Hey, Eden, do you hear me? I look towards the Colosseum and I see that there is a young girl in her late teens standing alone in the middle of the deserted spectator seats, and she has been shouting Eden's name for a while now. "Damn it," she says. "Don't you dare ignore me." Eden makes a bored hand wave in the general direction of the girl, and suddenly none of the words she is speaking are reaching us anymore, although the girl doesn't seem to have realized it herself, and she still appears to be shouting louder than ever. Did Eden just cast a silencing spell? Eden turns towards the soldiers from the king's army, who are all looking at him as if they've seen a ghost. Eden's smile widens when he sees them, and he decides to give them a parting message before he leaves. Well, what are you standing there for?" Eden asks the soldiers. "Go on. Spread the news. Spread it far and wide. Rejoice, for your Creator has returned. Rejoice, for your Creator has finally returned." He then disappears once more, leaving the soldiers just as confused as they were before. "I think it's time we descended back to the fighting arena, Barry," Golmick says. "Our job here is done." Ask Uraka if Eden is hiding around here invisibly. Don't ask Uraka anything. This is the smart decision. "Hey, Uraka," I say. "Is Eden still around, or is he gone for good this time?" "Nah, he's gone," Uraka says. "All right, let's get back down," I tell Golmick, and then we make our way back to the fighting area from the arena. Once we land our flying machine and get out of the cockpit, the king shakes my hand and he goes to meet his soldiers, telling me that we'll see each other again back at the palace. Not long afterwards, Darren, Kate, Hadrick, and Flower all gather one by one near my plane, so we can leave the arena together. I wave to Layla, who comes to join our group as well, and we prepare to leave. As we prepare to leave, Bruce comes to say his goodbyes. "Good fight, Stillwater," Bruce says as he pats me on the shoulder. "Good fight." "And the same goes for you, silver-haired princess. If we all ever get trapped in another deadly arena, I wouldn't mind having you again as my allies. Maybe we'll meet again someday." "Who knows?" I tell him. "It's a small continent, after all." Both Layla and I bid him farewell, and when we join the rest of the group, Once we're all ready to go, the ones of us who participated in the arena go to grab our backpacks from the locker rooms, and then we meet back in the fighting area in order to head towards one of the spectator exits. "Come on," Darren tells us. "I think I saw Enrique spectating from somewhere around here, and I'm pretty sure that he left through one of these gates when the evacuation started. He must be waiting for us outside." We all start to exit the gate, trying to find Enrique, but before we even get to look around, we are greeted by a young girl with a pleasant smile on her face. I recognize her immediately as being the same girl who was calling out to Eden earlier. "Hello," the girl says. "I hope I'm not bothering you. It's just that I watched you fight during the arena event, and I was very impressed. I was wondering if you all could help me out with something." "Sorry, kid," Darren says as he pats the girl on the shoulder briefly. "We're not giving out autographs." He then turns his back He then turns his back on her and heads towards Enrique, who is waiting for us not far beyond the gate. The girl looks mildly irritated by Darren's remark, but it does not look like she's planning to give up just yet. Taking a better look at her, I notice that her clothes, while aesthetically pleasing, do not look much different from the pajamas they sell on the Western continent. They remind me quite a lot of the type of clothing that Eden likes to wear. Wait a minute. This girl knows Eden, and she wears similar clothing to him. So does this mean that... No. What am I even thinking about? It's just a coincidence. There's no way that this girl could be a... Hey Barry, are you coming? Darren tells me. Oh yeah, I'll be right there, I say as I throw the young girl one last hesitant look, and then I head towards Darren. My friends, Enrique says, that was fantastic! Simply magnificent! I have no words. I thought that I'd already seen everything when you were done battling those creatures in the arena, but then you went and defeated a dragon. And to top it all off, you've survived the encounter with barely any scratches. This calls for a celebration. Tonight, we will have a feast. I will not accept no for an answer. Excuse me, sir? We hear the young girl from before calling out to Darren from behind us. Listen, Enrique, Darren says, ignoring the girl behind him. I really appreciate this, but this arena event already puts us 3 days behind the other participants in the mage tournament, so I really don't think that it would be a good idea for us to be spending yet another night in Thilius. Sir? The young girl asks again, but nobody pays attention to her. Come on, Darren, Hedrick says. Don't be a stick in the mud. They never gave us a time limit for completing the first objectives. It's not like they're going to disqualify us if we don't even start looking for pine cones right away. Damn it, Hedrick, Darren says. You are the last person I want to hear this from. You don't even care about winning the tournament. Didn't you say that you only came here for the challenge? I bet you're trying to postpone this because you hate the idea of having to go search for pine cones. All of a sudden, Kate, Darren, and I slowly begin to get raised from the ground as we are floating, we all get turned around simultaneously to face the opposite way. Standing in front of us now is the young girl in pajamas from before, smiling pleasantly at us. Well then, the girl says with a smile while clapping her hands together, now that I've got your attention, please, could we have a little chat? I promise you that this won't take any longer than a few minutes. Okay. Yay. Actually. Checkpoint reached. Now save. Book 2, Chapter 6. Save. Load game to make sure it worked. Cool. Oh, yep, that worked. Stop, go away. Okay. Save stuff because I'm paranoid now. Transfer achievements to cloud. The first couple emulators I had kept forgetting to back up my saves. So now I do this every time. Okay. Perfect. And quit game. Alright, well, I hope that y'all enjoyed that. I'm glad that we were able to finish. Once again, that was Magium. It is a free choose your own adventure text-based app that is free on both Android and iOS, and again, I highly recommend it. There are so many different paths that you could take. And it's really good. But if people don't want to play it for themselves and they would like to catch up so they know more what is going on, you are more than welcome to head over to my YouTube channel where you can go to my Magium playlist and you can watch along from there. Or you can catch up there because all of my previous readings are there. Wow, I'm clearly tired. 6 hours and 21 minutes live, so I'm probably gonna go to bed now. Thank you everyone for participating. It was really cool having you guys. You've all been wonderful. Thank you for telling me about the game, Lordos. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so have a really good day or night or whatever it is, wherever you are. I'm going to bed, so good night.